everyone for attending. This is an immense pleasure to me to speak about this thing, which is a subject very close to my heart for a long time. We are at the moment now heading into what I call a post-viral recession, which is very similar to a post-viral fatigue. Recession means high unemployment with low economic activity. Greens immediately say, oh, low economic activity. It does mean less air pollution. The skies have been clearer and CO2 emissions have fallen a little bit too, which is good. But unemployment, recession means unemployment. Unemployment means misery, insecurity, and ill health. A recession and a green economy are entirely different things, absolutely different. And we must be very, very clear about that. Now, this comes from in the mid-90s, I took a year off from my practice and wrote this book, Bills of Health, of which I still have, I think, 3 copies left, if anyone's interested to borrow them. And you can sometimes get them from the library. I spent a year, and my conclusion was that about 20% of the NHS clinical budget is spent on treating illness caused by unemployment, poverty, inadequate housing, and pollution. And the key thing is that in poverty, inadequate housing, and pollution are solved by employment. The effect of unemployment on health is very well studied at the time I did it. There are 11 effects that we can identify. GP consultations go up, increased mortality increases, more people die because there's more smoking, more alcohol consumption on the part of unemployed people. They are inactive, they become obese, mental ill health problems come along. Parasuicide, suicide attempts and suicide both increase. There's more illicit drug taking, and I found an increase in minor crime. So unemployment is a very, very bad idea indeed. Now, in the coming recession, we face very large numbers of people who in the system have no work to do. And at the same time, we face a vast amount of work that needs to be done to heal society and to heal the environment. Good, creative, and constructive work. So the question for us is, how do we turn these 2 problems into one solution? Let's look at our present benefit system. The benefits are given grudgingly. They're given on condition the claimant does no work beyond, they are allowed to do £16 per week without losing benefit. They may spend most of their days applying for work that does not exist. If work is found, benefits immediately stop, leaving a hungry month before wages kick in. And the benefit system is hugely complex. Nobody understands it, and it needs a lot of administration. This is a benefit system not fit for purpose, and it has to change. Basic income is the clear alternative. It's a living wage given to all citizens unconditionally, irrespective of work status. It's simple, fair, and straightforward. It has been put forward for many years from thinkers from left, center, and right. It's being tried, I say several, in numerous places. If you go to Wikipedia and look at the list of basic income pilots, you will find pages of it. It's been tried numerous places with good effects. And basic income is exactly what we need right now in this crisis. But you mention basic income, and every time, here come the objections. You can't give people something for nothing. Yes, you can. Child benefit and pensions are given for nothing. It's too expensive. Not if you introduce it by Green Wage Subsidy. And it's a massive change which will take years to roll out, but not if you introduce it via Green Wage Subsidy. But these objections, these three objections, especially the something for nothing one, totally blanket. You would notice a few weeks ago they were discussing basic income, and Duncan Smith just went on the program and said, you can't give something for nothing, and that was it. It just closed it down. This is the problem we've got with basic income in this backward country. So the alternative is what I'm putting forward is Green Wage Subsidy. And this is how it works. Our local authority, let's start with North Somerset, they designate 1 or 2 officers to assess economic groups, by which I mean public, private, cooperatives, charities, volunteer works, and anyone else who apply, any group that is economically active. If the group is doing work in the judgment of the officers that's beneficial to society or the environment, they get GWS approval. If they have approval, the groups can go to the job centre and take on new workers who can bring their benefit into work with them. Employers are not allowed to displace their present workforce with GWS workers. And there's a nice little feedback loop that stopped this particular wangle. And I have to stress this and stress it again. This scheme is entirely voluntary. It is not workfare. And there are no sanctions. There must be no sanctions if people refuse to join or leave the screen. And at this stage, I would like to say that in my many discussions on this, it's incredible that people cannot hear. Immediately they hear anything from the other side, they start talking about workfare. And also some people talk about not helping the bosses. So Green Wage Subsidy is a forerunner of basic income, but it sidesteps neatly the idleness objections, because in essence, it's a way of getting people from enforced idleness of the dole into work. By sidestepping these objections, it eases basic income ideas into public acceptability, and that is what we're going to need in our backward country. So what is the work that would be approved? Now, any work that benefits society and environment will get a certificate. But while COVID is still prevalent, we're in a special case. And the people who will be allowed to take their benefit into work with them is NHS, care homes, social care, education, funeral management, bereavement, mental health support, anyone relating to the COVID pandemic. Then crop picking is a very, very important thing, which is often in the news. The crop picking can the Green Wage Subsidy can come straight in to help with crop picking if we are lacking migrant labour for this. Then there's necessary building work like roofs and sewerage, and then the essential services, water services, electricity, communications network, and finally energy conservation. We now go into the classic Green Wage Subsidy stuff, because as we move out of lockdown and recession takes center stage, we can now look at the other work, the work that benefits the environment. Renewable energy, primarily, and energy conservation. David pointed me in the direction to a very recent survey by Ernst & Young in Australia, which said that there are 3 times, dollar for dollar, you will generate 3 times as many employees if you go for renewable energy as against fossil fuel energy. Which is a very interesting thing. That in fact, the entire green sector of the economy is quite labour intensive, which is a virtue, especially with automation coming on. So I'm right at the foot of that, which was in the last stage, is energy conservation. This is terribly important and very, very important in North Somerset. There are vast amounts of work that needs to be done to conserve energy in homes, in insulating homes. Then we run through these other things. Energy storage. When we speak of renewable energy, we should always speak in terms of renewable energy and energy storage, because they go hand in hand. Pollution control is a very interesting aspect that doesn't get talked about much. I'm not going to talk about it either today, but it's very interesting to look at. Waste minimization. Repair. I find my days are filled with repairing things around the house. But repair, as we've got the repair workshops in Winscombe, and repair is a very essential part of the green economy. We've got recycling, forestry, countryside management, rewilding, and public transport. So all of these things which address the environment that need to be brought forward, need to be helped. These are all necessary works that can be helped by Green Wage Subsidy. And then the other side is meeting human needs, because obviously we need happy people in a healthy environment, and meeting human needs, housing, new building and refurbishment, and bringing empty properties into use with empty property use orders, which is still green policy, very, very effective policy. Improvements to the visual environment. This is terribly important. That they used to say in the army, if it moves, salute it, and if it doesn't move, paint it. And a well-painted environment is very important for us visually and aesthetically and personally, emotionally, as well as protecting the against rust and rot. So this is very, very important part of the green economy, to get us into a beautiful environment. Education, training, obviously, counselling, caring and healing, community work. Community work, we need to talk about community workers much more, because they are very, very effective, cost-effective form of work. And then leisure and tourism meets a human need. So these are the sectors. And in my book, I worked out that roughly speaking, there are between 1 and 2 million jobs available to be created back in the mid-90s. And it's pretty much the same now. So what can we do? Now, I want to be practical and not just talk about motherhood and apple pie. I've already opened a discussion with John Penrose, our MP, and what we can do is to bring pressure, concerted pressure on the MPs, asking him to look at removing the blocks in the benefit system that prevent people from working. This is the way to frame it, that the people in the benefits system are given benefit on condition that they do not work. And they've got tremendous hurdles to jump over to get to work. We have to talk to him about that and getting people to work. It has to go through our MPs, because the agreement of the Department of Work and Pensions will be needed to give a derogation, a specific derogation, to allow green wage subsidy pilots to go ahead. And we can, I've got a template here, a template letter that people can use, tiny URL, YBMZC2N8. And you can find everything on my blog, which you can reach through Googling Dr. Richard Lawson blog. And it's called the Mabinogogi blog. Don't worry about that. The thing about writing to MPs is, or writing to officials anywhere, is the first unit is always just a fob off. And what we have to do is to develop and keep going back and looking at his arguments and his letters and keep feeding that, keep the pressure on, and continue a cycle of pressure. So I think that we could do this. We could get together online to look at the letters we get back, and have letter writing sessions, really bring pressure on John Penrose. And the other aspect of what I would like to work on is to reach out to the actual unemployed somehow. Well, obviously we could, I suppose, stand outside the job centre, or in any way we possibly can where they gather, to start giving this message to say, look, you don't have to be unemployed. There is work for you to do, and we can get together with this and bring pressure on the MP. So there, really, we have it. COVID-19 has done what Extinction Rebellion set out to do. It has interrupted the economic business as usual. We have a perfect opportunity to reboot the old failing economy and its old failing benefit system and create a fresh, fair, sustainable economy by transforming benefits from a grudging, grinding dole into a powerful stimulus for full employment in a vibrant, healing green economy. This is the Green New Deal, rebooting the economy. Let us not waste this opportunity. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so thanks, Richard. There aren't any questions online, so I've unmuted everybody. So if you'd like to ask questions of Richard verbally, please go ahead.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yep.
Fab. Do you think, just thinking about I understand, I think, what you're saying about this being a kind of way into a basic income. I'm just thinking about the levels of benefits currently and how they are extremely low. Do you think you need to really be asking for an increase in the benefit payments at the same time? Do you think it's fair, particularly for, I don't know, it feels a little bit like a legitimization of I know it's probably not, but a legitimization of the low benefits payment by asking people to proceed under that system, if that makes sense.
Well, the essential point is that if we've got Green Wage Subsidy, although the benefits may be low for whatever, by essentially they're going into work and they will be topped up to the going rate for the job. And perhaps I didn't make that clear in there, that the benefit stays with the person. They go to work and whatever, they will always get more because the employer will top their benefit up to. So what the employer is getting a very cheap labour. Mm-hmm. But the claimant is always doing better, and it's very, very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
That makes a lot more sense, because I was feeling like, oh, that's making me feel slightly uncomfortable, but that makes a lot more sense now. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Certainly, Richard's, from my own experience, Richard's comments about the number of jobs that are out there that potentially could be done, and number of people that could be employed. Just trying to get insulation work on my own house for 3 years, and finally in the last couple of weeks it's all come together, and I've got somebody who was made redundant just before COVID struck, helping me inside, and the expert builder doing the external wall insulation said he could start, but he had like a 3-week window, and if it wasn't then it would be next year.
Wow.
After waiting 3 years to get him. So there's definitely loads of opportunities for jobs out there, if we could train people to do insulation for existing housing stock. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yes, because I'm doing this with the Zero Carbon North Somerset, majoring with Scheller on the whole issue of under insulation and we have, I think, something like 11,000 houses in North Somerset that need work on them. And we have 2 approved companies doing the work. So there's a vast opportunity for expansion there in very, very good energy saving work.
I've been speaking to Future Proof. Can I speak? Am I heard? Oops, mute.
Go ahead.
Bob, did you want to ask something? You should be unmuted now.
Yes, if I may. Can you hear me okay? Hello, can you hear me?
Bob, I can hear you, Bob. You're a bit muffled.
Is this any better? I had problems with this yesterday. I don't know why, because everything seems to be tells me it's working properly this end. But can you hear me enough for me to just ask the question?
Yes, please. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. As you know, I'm a great fan of this idea. But there seems to be a debate arising recently where a large number of organisations and individuals support the idea of universal basic income. It's starting to be a big topic. Same as you probably know, is just about it. And I'm particularly work with the think tank Compass, which is very much in favour of basic income. But the equally influential new Limits Foundation has challenged the idea of UBI, and they claim that the money would be better spent on providing universal basic services. I agree with it. Do you have a view on this?
I'm sorry, Bob. I couldn't hear. I couldn't make. I couldn't interpret that. Can anyone else explain?
Your business idea needs a website? So go to Wix.com. What are you waiting for?
Whoops.
You got happy. Carry on. I'll put my question in the chat.
Okay. And Shella, you are muted. For I think you need to unmute yourself because I saw you trying to speak.
Okay, I'm heard.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things about the future proofing project based in Bristol. I was talking to them today because despite my leafleting for them within Clevedon, there still are no firms offering the insulation work, having had these free hour-long peer-to-peer training sessions that they're giving. So her suggestion was to find, if I could, a local builder and tell them about these free training sessions that are available to builders. And they look at the whole house, which is more than just interpreting what you think you need. They can see more. So that was my one point. Perhaps we should just put something up about what future proofing project is, so people can access that.
Thank you, Shelley.
And the other thing is, you only mentioned John Penrose, and I'm wondering if we should approach Liam Fox as well.
Yeah. Yes, of course, yes, yeah. We should approach Liam Fox too, though I think possibly John Penrose. It might. Well, you just don't know. You just know. We must keep trying. About future proofing. Future proofing is an organisation in Bristol that manages energy conservation in houses, and Shell has been working with trying to push energy conservation forward in the context of zero carbon North Somerset. The problem is that there is tremendous consumer resistance to energy conservation. And it seems to be the disruption of the home and having people, strangers coming into the home and looking into the loft that seems to be a block. And people, we really are going to have to push very hard to explain to people that they can be much better off and much more comfortable in their home to overcome the resistance in order to get people saving energy in North Somerset.
Yeah, I can cover that. It certainly is very disruptive trying to insulate the floors. Bob's question was, a large number of organisations and individuals support universal basic income, including the think tank Compass, but the equally influential New Economics Foundation has challenged the idea of UBI recently, claiming that the money would be better spent on providing universal basic services. Do you have a view on this?
Yeah, I'm aware of this. I've been a member of New Economics Foundation ever since it's Paul Ekins founded it. And I'm sad in a way. I went to their last webinar and I think they're drifting away from the whole point of New Economics into a rather rigid leftist view of things. To be honest, though, I don't understand universal basic services. I don't know what they are actually aiming at here. So I really can't say any. I'll have to look at that further. But to me, the essence, the absolute essence of it always is that unemployment is really, really bad for people. And it is crazy to have unemployment while we have so many things that need sorting out. And if NEF, I would like to know where NEF stand on that. So sorry, I've got to look that up.
Can you hear me now, Henry?
Sorry?
I was just wondering if people can hear me now. Can you hear me now, Richard?
Oh, yes, I can.
Oh, right, okay. I was just going to say that, yes, I want to look further into what NEF mean by universal basic services, but I actually don't see any conflict between the two. Why not have you improve basic services and have a basic income? Why not?
So I didn't quite catch, you don't see any conflict between the two.
That's right, yeah. I don't see why we can't have services and a basic income.
Yeah, I mean, in that we need income, we all need income as human beings, then there is no, we've still got to have a basic income, it seems to me.
I agree.
Yeah, philosophically, it's quite interesting that the view, before we had money, we had land. You had a patch of land and you planted seed and you grew your food on it, and that was a fundamental existence of a fundamental fact of existence, that we just won our existence from the land, and by existing as a human being we could have a little territory to work with, and the basic income is a representation of that fact of us as humans upon planet Earth in monetary terms. So I can't see how there can be a conflict for NEF, and I will engage with them about it.
Okay.
Richard, if I could ask, you've placed a lot of emphasis on keeping in contact with MPs and keep making the case and the arguments. But I wonder, could we not get a range of pressure groups, organisations who would also have an interest in this to put that pressure on MPs? Problem with individuals is that it's quite a hard and lonely battle keeping going, particularly when you get the sorts of replies you do get from Ian Fox. And it just seems to me, who do you see as the organisations in North Somerset who could equally put pressure on representing their members?
Well, the key organisation I would think would be Zero Carbon North Somerset, which is of course the umbrella group of, in relation to last year's declaration of climate emergency by North Somerset. We have pulled together with David very much in the driving seat. We've pulled together some 30 NGOs, local NGOs, I think, who are all committed to greening North Somerset. So, as I say, I've been working with the energy conservation aspect of this, and have been making the argument within Zero Carbon North Somerset that there's a hell of a lot of jobs that need to be created, and this is the way to create it. So that is at a local level, I think, the answer to your question. There is another thing, though, that there is an organisation called Green New Deal UK, which is just setting up, which I've been along to and talked very briefly to this. G&D UK are, I think they would be open and they would be supportive of what we're talking about here. But they seem to me to be somewhat bureaucratic, managerial, and not very, very much hands-on, in my humble opinion.
Do you think that the Chambers of Commerce and other business organisations would have an interest? Because, of course, it's a subsidy for jobs and wages.
That's a very good suggestion. Yes, I have thought about them and haven't approached them. I have approached two businesses in energy conservation and got a useful response from one of them. So there are openings there. I think certainly we should talk to employers. Yeah.
I come back again.
Yes.
Both David and I have both had replies from Liam Fox very positively about the local electricity bill, which is before Parliament this week. Even though he hadn't actually signed up to say he was supporting it, but John Penrose had. But yeah, no, very full, standard, wasn't exactly personal, but a very full reply about why it was such a good idea to have this local electricity bill.
Thank you. I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry, and I'm a bit ignorant. The electricity bill, you say?
Yeah. It's to enable local small organisations to produce electricity. David, you can probably explain it a bit better. But it's not such a hard thing that, like your example was, when companies are setting up, they often have to produce so much infrastructure, whereas these things can be encouraged more. Go on, David.
Good. Well, we're making progress.
He's not responding.
Times are changing.
Yes. Did you hear that, David?
Sorry?
Yeah, I was hoping you would back me up and say what this local electricity bill was. I did my best to explain it, but I'm sure you'll do it better.
Yeah, my understanding is it's at the moment the barriers to entry for a small community generating company to sell their power are quite high, and also there was a thing that with the fixed regime, they were no longer going to guarantee paying buy power from people with solar panels, personal people. So part of the deal is that there will be an obligation that they do have to pay people with panels for the power, the different energy companies, but they'll be able to bid. So different companies might offer you different amounts of money for your excess power. So it's really, if we're going to have a much smarter grid, much more local generation, it's trying to get rid of some of the barriers to entry for the smaller firms and the community energy companies to get into that. So it's quite a complex thing behind the scenes, but at the moment, because there was talk about making it even more difficult for community energy companies to get in, and this is trying to push back on that. But it's not something for your average householder, but it's quite key to how we develop the grid and power in the future.
Thank you, David. David, are we time limited? Are we about to be cut off?
No.
Oh, great. Good. How long have we got? As long as we like.
As long as people keep talking. I've taken out the license for Zoom, so we've got the license for a year.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure we've got any. Having said that, though, Richard, I think we might be coming to the end of comments and questions. Are there any more questions from anybody? No.
They're all muted.
Do you want to wrap up with anything, Richard?
Well, all I would like to say is that if anyone wants to join me, then in addressing our MPs, and perhaps addressing the unemployed, working how we can contact the unemployed and reach out to them. Email would be good, or and my email is rlawson@gn.apc.org. That's golfnovember.alphapolocharlie.org. That's my email, and it's an antique. It goes back to the 1980s, I think.
Hello, I have a question.
Thank you very much indeed. Oh,
sorry.
Hi, Chris.
Hello. Sorry, none of you know me. We were muted then, so I wasn't able to ask. It's a practical question around the scheme. What kind of protections would you see for an employer and their employee, in the sense that an employer would take someone on the understanding that essentially their wages would be subsidised, and how long would they be subsidised for? And what if the employee decided to leave this scheme? Would the employer have to keep them on?
right.
Or would they just be able to let people go?
Yeah, the idea, it is absolutely simple, but and as I said, it's entirely voluntary. There are no sanctions whatsoever. It is just to allow people to move from benefit to work and out either way, just like basic income. It makes no difference. And how long would the scheme last for? As a Green, I would hope the scheme will last until it becomes a pure basic income, where the turnover in unemployed people just gradually expands it, and everyone says, "This is great. Let's just call the benefits basic income. Let it behave like basic income."
So if you were trying to sell this, I mean, my local MP is Liam Fox. He would probably see it as an endless commitment to paying this benefit, so that would be something of a hurdle.
Well, yeah, but part of it is this is very interesting. I mean, there's other aspects. One thing is that I did some very crude calculations, which David had a look at, and looking at 50% penetration of green wage subsidy, I reckon that the economy would be about £10 billion better off from various ways. And in fact, looking at the benefits as a sector of government expenditure, benefits are very, very small sector indeed, around about 5%. So if we do that's the only downside from a financial point of view, in that when people go to work, benefits continue to be paid, but it's a small amount, and gradually that can be moved into being a permanent situation.
Okay. Yeah.
But also, you'd be getting tax and national insurance take on the top-up element, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So that you'd still be paying benefit. The government would be getting some of that back in tax and insurance. So.
Yeah.
And you get happier people. This is what comes up from the many basic income pilots is that people are actually happier and feel better, and they get less illness, etc. Win-win-win.
And I mean, Richard went through the sort of costs of people being in poverty or unemployed. So you're saving a lot of those costs as well, or hopefully you'll find you'll save a lot of those costs downstream, really.
Mm.
Yep.
And the other thing is good. Yeah.
Are there any more questions? If not, we'll close it there. Thank you all for joining tonight. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
As Richard said, if you want to get in touch with him, please do. And thank you all, and
Thank you very much.
bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Can anybody hear me now?